Can I find fractions of a shape? What are fractions? A fraction is a part of a whole. Each of the parts is equal or the same. This shape has been divided into 4 parts which are the same. They are equal, so each part is a fraction of the whole shape. This shape has been divided into 3 parts, but they are not equal, so this shape doesn't show fractions. Circle the images that have 2 equal parts. This shape has 2 equal parts. So does this one. And so does this one. These 3 shapes all show 2 equal parts. We call these fractions half. This breadstick has been divided into 2 parts, but they are not equal. One part is much bigger than the other, so these parts are not halves. Tick the shape below that is divided into equal parts. Of course, it's A. A has been divided into 2 equal parts, so each of these is called a half. B and C have not been divided equally. Tick the shapes that are split into 4 equal parts. Let's have a look at them. Of course, it's B and C. B has been divided into 4 equal parts, and each of these is called a quarter. C has also been divided into 4 equal parts, and each of these is called a quarter as well. A and D have been split into 4 parts, but these parts are not equal, so A and D do not show quarters. How do we write fractions? In a fraction, the top number is called the numerator. Here, the numerator is 1. And the bottom number is called the denominator. Here, the denominator is 4. The numerator is at the top, and it tells us how many parts we have shaded. The denominator goes on the bottom. It tells us how many equal parts we have divided our shape or amount into altogether. This shape has been divided into 4 parts altogether. One of those 4 parts has been shaded. So the fraction we can see in this shape is 1 out of 4, or 1/4. A unit fraction is any fraction where the numerator is 1. For example, 1/4. The fractions shown on this fraction mat are all unit fractions. the numerator in each fraction is one part of the whole. We've got half, one part out of two altogether. A third, one part out of three altogether. A quarter, one part out of four altogether. A fifth, one part out of five parts altogether. A sixth, one part out of six altogether. A seventh, one part out of seven parts altogether. An eighth, one part out of eight parts altogether. A ninth, one part out of nine parts altogether. And a tenth, one part out of 10 equal parts altogether. If I share a whole into two parts, what fraction will each part be? Here is a whole. If I take this whole and divide it into two equal parts, then I know the denominator, that's the number at the bottom of the fraction. What do you think it is? That's right, it's 2. So I have shared this shape into two halves. If I divide a whole between 4 boxes, what fraction will be in each box? Here is a whole. If I take this whole and divide it into 4 equal parts, what is the denominator? That's the number at the bottom of the fraction. That's right, it's 4. So I have shared this shape into 4 equal parts, and each of these parts is called a quarter. If I share a whole into 3 equal parts, what fraction will each part be? Here is one whole. If I take this whole and divide it into 3 equal parts, what is the denominator? That's right, it's 3. So I have shared this shape into 3 equal parts, and each of these is called a third. In this model, a bar is shared into 4 quarters. Each part is a quarter. If we look at the whole shape, it is made up of 4 quarters. We can write 4 quarters like this: 4 over 4. When the numerator and the denominator are the same, this means one whole. So 4 quarters is the same as one whole. Can you work out what fraction needs to go into each box below? How can we find out? What should we do first? Let's count the parts. How many are there altogether? Remember, this will tell us the denominator. If we count them, we can see that there are 10 parts altogether. So what fraction goes in each part? Well, if we share a whole into 10 parts, each part will be 1/10. In this shape, one part is shaded. This shape has 4 parts altogether. So the fraction of the shape that is shaded is 1 out of 4 parts altogether, or 1/4. What fraction is shown below? Is it a third, a quarter, or a half? Well, how many balls have been circled? Half of all the balls have been circled, so the fraction of balls circled here is half. If we look at the denominator in half, it's 2. And we can see here that the balls have been shared into 2 equal groups. Half means sharing by 2. Now it's your turn. Pause the video, find this slide in your workpack and have a go. Remember, fractions are an equal part of a whole. Your turn again. Pause the video, find this slide in your workpack and have a go. Remember, in fractions, the denominator, that's the number on the bottom, tells us how many parts there are altogether. The numerator, that's the number on the top, tells us how many parts are shaded or circled. Okay, pause the video, find this slide in your workpack and have a go. Remember, a fraction is an equal part of a whole, so you have to make all the parts the same.